I think what I'm starting to see more is a transition to public clouds via a hybrid approach. A lot of customers have pretty significant investments in their own private clouds within their enterprise data centers, or maybe if they're using a colo, they have their own private cloud. We're starting to see now, though, the migration to public cloud is via a hybrid approach. So moving certain applications or certain processing to the public cloud infrastructure, but still maintaining that data or that core infrastructure. So we're starting to see this kind of hybrid approach now. And the biggest challenge for security is you're working with two completely different ecosystems. You're working with a completely cloud-based environment where you don't have a lot of control to the equipment in the data center, which your security policy wouldn't be applicable in that environment. And then on the flip side, within their own data center, they can actually go hug their own servers. So the way that they apply their technology, their security technology in that ecosystem is vastly different. So even though hybrid actually sounds very tempting for most corporations, it actually introduces a lot of significant complexities because you're working in two completely different environments. One's predominantly physical with some virtualization, the other one's 100% virtualization. So in a hybrid cloud environment, you think about human errors and the risk that a human error in a private cloud would potentially open up, the risk that it would open up for a corporation. But you see in a hybrid cloud environment, kind of back to the complexities that it brings to a corporate environment, really a human error in a hybrid environment would open up not just your private cloud infrastructure, but your public cloud infrastructure. And then the connection point from the private to the public and then back and forth from an attacker perspective is actually quite attractive. So if I was actually an attacker, I would be looking for those sort of human errors because that's the best way possible for me to move within their sensitive ecosystem, get into that data that I want to get to, and then living off the land as long as I possibly can. So human errors really, when you think about in a hybrid environment, are 10x more impactful than in a private cloud environment. Now granted, in a public cloud environment, they're equally as important or equally as devastating. But if you think about it from working within their very slow migration, it almost completely unravels their plans to move to the public cloud, working in that private cloud environment. So some of the fundamental steps when you think about a hybrid cloud environment is focus on the public cloud first. Because predominantly your private cloud or your legacy infrastructure, you've had a lot of maturity. Hopefully you've had a lot of maturity within that ecosystem. But taking that same template and applying that for the private cloud or the public cloud, and using that 70-30 mix, that 70% applicable in that public cloud environment that you've done previously in that private cloud environment is the first step. But really kind of peel the onion back a little bit deeper and start with the basics, the basic hygiene. So what is your actual golden image? What we're seeing a lot of times is that golden image is often overlooked, and having that consistency of that golden image constantly being updated when vulnerabilities come out or new risks that are potentially opened up to your environment, looking at that basic hygiene and also basic vulnerability management. We're actually seeing a lot of times clients are overlooking the very fundamental things and they're jumping right to the very high end things that they know the attackers may do. But if you kind of fix that basic blocking and tackling, most of those high-end things are actually already covered in that basic hygiene. So I would say, honestly, just go back to the basics. Focus on that basic hygiene, basic blocking and tackling. And then once you get to a point where you feel like you have control, you have visibility across the ecosystem, you have solid policy management, then focus on the more advanced sort of things.